Hey there, Living Word kids, it's Miss Anna. Thank you for joining me for another month of LW Kids Online. Remember, last month we learned how not to be a chicken or a scaredy cat. God has not given us a spirit of fear. Continue to be fearless just like David. This month, I want you to see that God has given you power, not fear. 2 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 7 in the Amplified Classic says, "For God did not give us a spirit of timidity, of cowardice, or craven and cringing and fawning fear, but He has given us a spirit of power and of love and of a calm and well-balanced mind and discipline and self-control." Man, God didn't leave anything out of this verse.
Miss Anna, I know we're talking about power, but I don't really understand what this scripture means.
I'm glad you asked, because we're going to dig into this scripture and find out what God is trying to teach us. God has not given us a spirit of timidity, which means fear, being shy or nervous. These are all things that we might deal with every day. Maybe you get shy because you're around a bunch of people you don't know. What if your school is having a talent show and you want to be in it, but you're too nervous? Since God has not given you a spirit of timidity, you don't have to be shy or nervous ever again. You can hold your head up high and know that God is with you and He will help you be bold in a group of people or at a talent show. The end of 2 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 7 in the Amplified Classic says, "He has not made us to be a coward." Wow, did you know that that was in the Bible? Have you ever had anyone tell you you're such a little coward? God doesn't want your courage to
Shrink and become small. He wants your courage to be
big all the time.
God also doesn't want you to always back down to others in fear. Now, the next part of this verse says, "But He has given us a spirit of power." This is the part we want to dig up today. We've got the power. That's this one. We've got the power. Power. God has given us a spirit of power that we can overcome all fear. This reminds me of 3 guys in the Bible named Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They worked for King Nebuchadnezzar. This king had decided to build a gold statue in Babylon and instructed that when people heard the sound of musical instruments, they were to come and bow down and worship the gold statue. Anyone who would not bow to the gold statue would be thrown into the fiery furnace. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego loved the Lord with all their heart and decided that they were not going to worship anyone or anything other than the one true God. Some guys who wanted to cause trouble came to the king in Daniel chapter 3 in verses 12 through 25 in the New King James Version and said, "There are certain Jews who you have set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not paid due regard to you. They do not service your gods or worship the gold image which you have set up." Then Nebuchadnezzar, in rage and fury, gave the command to punish Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar spoke, saying to them, "Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the gold image which I have set up? Now, if you are ready at the time you hear the sound of the horn, flute, harp, lyre, and psalmistry, in symphony with all kinds of music, and you fall down and worship the image which I have made, good. But if you don't worship, you shall be cast immediately into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is the God who will deliver you from my hands? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If this is the case, our God, who we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from your hand, O king. But if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the gold image which you have set up." Then Nebuchadnezzar was full of fury, and the expression on his face changed toward Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He spoke and commanded that they heat the fiery furnace 7 times more than it was usually heated. And he commanded certain mighty men of valor who were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their coats, their trousers, their turbans, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's command was urgent, and the furnace was exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire killed those men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound in the midst of the burning furnace. Then King Nebuchadnezzar was astonished, and he rose in haste and spoke, saying to his counselors, "Did we not cast 3 men bound in the midst of the fire?" They answered and said to the king, "True, O king." "Look," he answered, "I see 4 men loose, walking around in the midst of the fire, and they are not hurt, and the form of the 4th is like the Son of God." Wow, these men were walking around in a super hot, fiery furnace, and Jesus was with them. Jesus kept them safe because they chose not to cower and run away in fear. The power of God kept them safe because they trusted God. King Nebuchadnezzar told Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to come out of the furnace. When they came out, nothing was wrong with them. Their hair wasn't burnt, their clothes weren't burnt, they didn't even smell like smoke. Then King Nebuchadnezzar said, "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who delivered his servants who trusted in him." King Nebuchadnezzar knew that no other God had the power to deliver them but the one true God. This is one of my favorite stories from the Bible because we can trust God just like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and not fear, knowing that God's power is available to us. His power is greater than anything that could come against us. We must put our whole trust in God and never fear, because when we do this, God's mighty power works for us and keeps us safe, happy, and full of joy. Join me next month as we learn about part 2 of 2 Timothy 1:7. This month, LW kids, don't forget to walk in God's power and say no to fear. Bye! Then these men were bound in their coats, their trousers, their turbans. I don't know what.
Their trousers.
Turbans.
Turban.
Then these men were bound in their coats, their don't know why I think it's funny. Then these men were bound in their coats, their
Maybe you just don't say trousers.
Then these men were bound in their coats, their trousers, their turbans, their garments. Then these men were bound in their coats, their trousers, their turbans.